Hey Blitzers, the Muffin here. Welcome back to the channel. I have a subscriber request to do a vid on bad decisions. Now, bad decisions typically don't stem from things of people that are trying to do best in the game or what they can, and come across situations where they think to themselves, hey, that looks like a bad situation or a bad idea. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And they get themselves killed, lose the game. That's typically not how bad decisions typically work. They normally stem from things of when you're in game and you're trying to make good decisions for the most part, and you end up just getting yourself what looks like turns out to be a bad situation, and you end up dying or you lose the game, and then you realize to yourself, yeah, that was a bad decision. So we're going to be talking about some things to avoid bad decisions and what those typically look like without stating the obvious. So bad decisions typically stem from the lack of understanding of something. So when going in and looking at the basics, I talk about this in a lot of my tips and tricks vids, but you have to understand your tank's strengths and weakness. You have to understand your tank's role. I see a lot of players playing the game either incorrectly playing the tank's role, or incorrectly, more importantly I should say, playing the tank's strengths and weaknesses, or understanding the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. There's just a lack of understanding, and that lack of understanding puts you in a position to end up getting deleted or whatever it may be. And then the realization comes, yeah, that was a bad decision. You think of it after the fact. It's never beforehand of you looking at a situation thinking, yeah, you know what? That looks like a bad idea. I'm going to go do it. So when we start looking at to avoid bad decisions, like I said, it all stems down to understanding your tank's strengths and weakness. Because if you understand your tank's strengths, weakness, you can understand how to position the tank, how you should play the tank. The tank's statistics and characteristics will tell you how to play the tank. So for example, if you're a tank with great gun depression or good, like mixed maybe with a good turret, but you don't have very good hull armor, well, great gun depression and good turret armor, even just good gun depression alone, could tell you or be a good indicator of putting yourself in a position where there's hills and areas you can use that gun depression, and coming up on enemies that don't have good gun depression. Because those enemies that have bad gun depression won't and will struggle to be able to fulfill and maximize their efficiency to come up on you, get their cannons down far enough, whereas for you can do it with a lot more ease. So in those situations, it's putting yourself in a position not only to maximize your efficiency and your strengths and protect your weaknesses, but to also expose the weaknesses of your enemies. So anyway, just some thoughts on bad decisions is, number one, if there's any takeaways from this, is the most important thing is understanding your tank's characteristics. If you're a heavy tank, it's very important to know what your armor characteristics are, because typically a heavy tank, you're on the front lines. You're having to utilize that armor in some sort of either side scraping or angling capacity. And if you understand that armor profile from a heavy tank, that can help you tremendously know how to make good decisions with that tank. If you're a light tank, knowing what your view range, your maneuverability, your gun depression. As you get to areas to spot, you're looking for those opportunistic chance to come up on enemies or flank, work with your team. That helps you make good decisions. Or if you're a tank destroyer, understanding the characteristics of that tank. Typically, very accurate, great penetration, and so forth. But as a destroyer, you don't have typically a turret, and putting yourself in close proximity of a light tank that can flank you if you're too exposed. It's things of that sort. So bad decisions, not to sound like a broken record, just typically stem from the lack of understanding. So anytime that I lose a game, I know there's always bad teams, but instead, next time you play a game, instead of pointing the blame at your team, which there's, I guess, still some, room where there's literally just games I've played you could just do nothing and only do so much, and the teams just fall apart way too fast. But next time you lose a game, think about what you could have done to do better. What areas, when reflecting and thinking about that game, could either make you a better player, or think about things that could have helped you become more effective, or maximize that type of tank's efficiency. And then it's amazing when you turn that finger and kind of point it to yourself and think about it from that aspect, instead of reverting to anger and finger pointing at others. It's way more fulfilling in helping you become a better player, a better person, and helps make you better decisions moving forward. Anyway, this is the Muffin here. You guys stay cool and keep tanking.